One, two,
One, two, three.
three.
That was terrible.
We were not in sync at all.
We were not in sync
Let's
on
try
that
that
one.
again.
One, two, three. Is that better?
That was great. Hello,
Okay.
Chris.
Hey, Ben.
My name's Ben.
Oh,
I had a bit of a history related minisode for you. It's
oh wow.
more history than pop culture in a manner of speaking, but it kind of intersects with our lives in a way. So I thought I would bring it up on the podcast and see what you know about it. So I was married near a place called Sharp Top Mountain in
Okay.
the Appalachians in Virginia, the Blue Ridge.
So far, I know nothing of it.
You've been to Sharp Top, I know,
I
because
did.
you were at my wedding.
I was at your wedding.
But I was told by somebody, I can't remember who, a long time ago that there was a plane crash site on Sharp Top Mountain. And I thought I would investigate this. And I went online and found some GPS coordinates. And it turns out there's a trail that's not marked. They don't make it publicly known.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go up on Sharp Top Mountain and follow this unmarked side trail, it leads you down kind of a steep path. And there on the side of the mountain is a crashed B-25 bomber from World War II.
Wow. It's still there?
The engines and pieces of the wing and the tail and a great deal of debris is all still there from when it crashed in 1943.
Wow.
So
That,
I was interested to see this and was startled. You're kind of walking along on the woods and you're like, are these coordinates that I found on the internet sketchy? Am I going to find this? And you're walking along and there's an engine in front of you that's covered in moss and plants are growing out of it and insects are crawling over it. And it's kind of become part of the landscape.
uh-huh.
But two massive engines and a ton of shrapnel. So what happened there was the aircraft went down for unknown reasons while it was flying a low-level nighttime training mission out of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And the 5 men on board were killed when the plane crashed. So there's been a lot of speculation as to why they crashed, but it sounds like the weather was good. They're not sure if they lost control in some way or if
Yeah.
visibility was prevented. But yeah, there's a memorial plaque to them there, and it's still there all these years later. So it was very strange. Felt like walking into a piece of history. We talk about living history sometimes, and that felt very much like a living part of history that hasn't. It's in a remote spot that can't be accessed easily. So
That is very interesting.
not so much a pop culture reference, but a historical reference that relates to both of us and places that we've been.
Yeah. So
If
what did you do with this? Did you take pictures of it or?
I did take some pictures. Unfortunately, some people have left graffiti. Well, depending on how you look at it, fortunate or unfortunate, because some of the graffiti was really old, like from the 60s.
Yeah.
So it kind of becomes
Part of the history of it,
part of the history of it too.
which is
So that's
cool.
part of why I think they don't mark the trail and don't
Yeah.
make it too public to avoid people defacing it or trying to carry out
Pieces of it.
pieces of it and maybe getting hurt because it's a real plane crash site. So
Yeah.
there's bits of shredded metal and it's a steep incline, so you could potentially slip and hurt yourself.
I wonder, has anyone done any archaeological research on it? Like gone up there and kind of done Like a dig?
I don't know. I know that the Bedford Museum has has done some investigation work and has an exhibit on it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen their exhibit, but it would be interesting to see what they find.
that is very cool, very interesting. Uh, you're right, Ben. That's much more history than straight history than than pop culture reference.
Sometimes we do so much pop culture that the history part becomes obscured,
Yeah,
and sometimes we strike a good balance. But I thought it would be cool to share that with you, and I thought it might be interesting since we both have a personal connection to that area of the world.
yeah, oh yeah.
But what do you think about the historical graffiti?
That interests me a great deal as well. Do you have any pictures of the graffiti?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be my first question. Is if you'd let me take a look at it, and then the second question: would you be willing, when this episode goes online, uh, to post some of your pictures? Because
yeah, I think we could definitely post them on the Popstorian page.
that would be pretty cool.
So I'm sending you an image right now. That's the top right hand corner. You can see someone scrawled in their name, and 1967 is the date. Now, of course, some of this could be faked, as in people scratched it in later
Yeah, and then dated it.
and backdated it, but there's no way to really tell, I don't think,
Well, not without probably further investigation anyway.
without some sort of forensics, I guess.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, let's see here. Okay. 1967. There's some LBJ on there.
Hmm.
I think that's LBJ. JKR? November 1967. What is the 18th? What is 18th November? Is that like a special date, or is that just the date that they were up there?
Let's see. The date that the plane went down, I think, was in November. I think it was November, early November, though. Let
Okay.
me see. I'll actually, I'm going to read the plaque that they have on the site in commemoration. Well, I'm sorry, it's not. It's not November at all. It's on February 2nd, 1943. Aircraft 129828 from Columbia Army Air Base, South Carolina, crashed into Sharp Top Mountain. The
Mm-hmm.
B 25D Mitchell bomber was on a low level nighttime navigational training mission. This memorial is erected on the crash site in memory of the 5 brave airmen who lost their lives in the service of their country. And their names are Second Lieutenant George Benninga Bombardier from Minnesota, Peter Biskin, engineer from Chicago, Illinois, Hillary Blackwell from Santa Monica, California, William McClure from Indiana, Paul Pitts from Oklahoma. So that was erected in 2001 in
Mm-hmm.
tribute to those men. Pretty cool, pretty emotional experience that I didn't expect it to be so emotional.
Yeah.
But you're kind of walking down there, and there's a stream that flows by it down towards the bottom of the hill, and there's a lot of natural growth of flowers and things, and it's very peaceful there for a site of where something tragic occurred. It's pretty remarkable.
That is very cool.
I guess on a national scale, maybe not that fascinating, but an interesting piece of local history.
Local history, micro history, if you will, even.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's interesting. Flying up from South Carolina. Do you know where they were flying to?
I don't. I haven't been able to find that out in any of the articles that I've looked up. That's one of the things I was trying to find before we started recording, but I haven't managed to secure it. I'm
Oh.
sure somebody out there knows, so if you do, please send us an email. Popstorian@gmail.com is the place to do so. any info that you have or stories that you have about the B-25 plane crash in Bedford would be very of interest to us.
That is very, very cool, Ben. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks for letting me tackle something that's not as cultural as usual.